Hello everybody, this is the most important stimulus news that you have to know. Be sure to stay until the end of the video.
Doing my job for me. Okay, so first I want to thank Senators Durbin, Murray, and Stabenow for joining us. We just had a really spirited discussion in our caucus, a discussion that will continue. Senator Warnock gave a very powerful speech in terms of voting rights, and our discussions are continuing. We're going to have another very busy week in the Senate. As you know, we're in the middle of it already. On the legislative front, the Senate voted to invoke cloture on NDAA this morning. That's bicameral, bipartisan. We're working in good faith to get the defense bill done quickly. The Senate will also address the debt limit today using the fast-track process and avoid a first-ever default. As I've said, no brinksmanship, no default on the debt, no risk of another recession. This is a very good thing, and I am glad that we had cooperation between Democrats and Republicans. The two parties came together to pass legislation setting up this fast-track process for addressing the debt limit. The legislation will raise the debt limit to a level commensurate with funding necessary to get into 2020, and we'll vote on final passage later today, and hopefully the House will get it. We're trying to get it to them as quickly as possible. This is about paying debt accumulated by both parties, Democrats and Republicans. So I'm pleased both parties came together to facilitate a process that has made addressing the debt possible. Once again, I thank the Republican leader and my Republican colleagues who voted to address this issue and worked, and the Republican leader worked with me to come up with something that would deal with this problem effectively. That means we'll cross another major item off our December to-do list. Also this week, we continue working through the process to advance President Biden's Build Back Better Act here in the Senate along the timeline that I've laid out. The bipartisan birdpath meetings with the parliamentarian will continue. I want to thank my colleagues, their staff, the parliamentarian, and her team for working through this important and difficult process. The President will also continue his conversations with our caucus as we work out the final details to move Build Back Better forward. So I thank my colleagues, I thank the President for their hard work and their commitment to get this. Now, in addition to finishing our legislative priorities, we also have to work through a number of nominations that have been held up through Republican obstruction.
According to a new poll released today, a majority of Americans dislike how Biden is handling some of the most pressing issues facing the country, with the president seeing his highest disapproval ratings over the economic recovery. An ABC News poll shows that 57% of Americans give Joe Biden over the way he's handling the economy. Only 41% disapprove. Only 41% approve. Joe Biden also gets low marks over how he's handling inflation, which rose to 6.8% this year, the highest rate since 1982. 28% of people approve and 69% of people disapprove Biden's handling of inflation. The president, whose job approval ratings have been tanking since, gets higher marks for his handling of the crisis and rebuilding the U.S. with its infrastructure plan, with 53% of approving and 42% disapproving. Now, his approval rating for the crisis is the lowest since he took office in January, falling from 69% to 53%. And everybody, let's not forget that since the start of the crisis, the federal government has spent hundreds of billions of dollars to provide much-needed financial relief to the Americans. The latest major concern is the rise and spread of the crisis, which was first observed in the United States last month. Biden has ambitious legislative plans. The Build Back Better bill, a package costing roughly $2 trillion, is awaiting a vote in the Senate after passing the House last month. Now, President Biden said that the latest major concern is the rise and spread of the crisis, and Joe Biden has ambitious legislation. The bill includes massive investment in the social safety net and is designed to help bring about a grand transformation of the American economy.
Well, you would think when it comes to something like child care, the people advocating for the so-called BBB would want to make things better, not make them worse. Yet they have accomplished exactly that, made it actually worse, not better. You've heard about the reduced access and the increased cost. And of course, as working moms, when they can't find affordable child care, means they're not part of the labor. And if there's one thing I hear from Texas employers, it's they can't find enough good people to perform the good, well-paying jobs that exist in this economy. And then there's the whole issue of inflation across the board, not just inflation when it comes to child care costs, but inflation for literally everything from your gas to the food that you put on the table. Of course, these higher costs mean less choices for working families in Texas and elsewhere. And finally, let me just say that we're beginning to peel back some of the mystery of the Build Back Better or Build Back Broke bill when it comes to the actual score. The original score of $1.75 trillion was full of cliffs, stops, starts, and frankly, just a lot of budget gimmicks. Now that we know that if temporary programs like this one were passed and were continued as they are likely to be here in Washington, a temporary government program, as Ronald Reagan said, is the closest thing to eternal life here in Washington. It would literally be $5 trillion. So the bottom line is we can't and we don't need it, and we need to kill it.
First off, remember when Biden said this bill wouldn't cost anything? As Senator Crapo said, that's not true. Look at all these numbers. It's going to cost us trillions of dollars, and we're going to have unbelievable deficits. Then you look at the inflation, whether it's the CPI or the PPI. I mean, this is ridiculous. What it's going to cost people to just to live in this country. It's not the rich that get hurt; it's the poor that get hurt. And now this targeting this additional money for the IRS to target all Americans is absolutely wrong. And this is exactly what it's going to do. It's going to target our families. It's going to target our small businesses, and it's going to go after them to get them to pay more money. I'll give you. I mean, think about the IRS. The IRS can't keep information confidential. They don't do that. There's breaches. They've released information through ProPublica. Then on top of that, now what they're doing, if you haven't heard from people all around the country, when you ask for your refund, you have to give them a selfie so they can. I mean, this is our IRS now is acting like Big Brother. They want to have your picture. They want to have all your information, know exactly who they're talking to. Remember when it was your money, you have a refund, they would send it back to you in a check. Not anymore. You have to give them private information to even get your money back. It's the wrong thing to do to pass this bill. It's the wrong thing to do to give the IRS $80
Hello everybody, this is the most important stimulus news that you have to know. Be sure to stay until the end of the video.
Doing my job for me. Okay, so first I want to thank Senators Durbin, Murray, and Stabenow for joining us. We just had a really spirited discussion in our caucus, a discussion that will continue. Senator Warnock gave a very powerful speech in terms of voting rights, and our discussions are continuing. We're going to have another very busy week in the Senate. As you know, we're in the middle of it already. On the legislative front, the Senate voted to invoke cloture on NDAA this morning. That's bicameral, bipartisan. We're working in good faith to get the defense bill done quickly. The Senate will also address the debt limit today using the fast-track process and avoid a first-ever default. As I've said, no brinksmanship, no default on the debt, no risk of another recession. This is a very